Thank you for joining us today. We are putting together another video. This is a second video. We did an internal video for training with some proprietary information in it. And we had a lot of employees and family members and different folks want a similar video with security related topic coming from what last time we speculated to be a name of a series, but it turned into Two Beards and a Laptop. So anyway, here we are. And today a little more informal. We're going to talk about security again, but from the outside world. This time of year, we're all buying gifts for the holidays, and there's a lot of online shopping going on and what we would consider risky internet or security behavior. So I'm Brian Hofen, Director of Technology or Chief Technology Officer here at BancCentral, and do some other functions. I have a CISSP, I'm an MCSE, and this is Tim Bradley. He's our Chief Information Officer. He too has some security training and certifications as well. And so our jobs here every day relate to keeping our network secure, customer information safe, and we also advise other businesses for hire where we do security work for outside agencies and business. So we are around security all the time, and we're always looking at it from different aspects and angles, and even in our own private life outside of work, we do some experimentation with security and things that to see what we can or cannot get away with sometimes, or if there's a secure way to do something, or can this be done anonymously, or those type of things. So anyway, we're around it quite a bit, and we have some topics today. I've got a few notes here. Tim's got some things, and we're just going to see where this goes. We'll try to keep it under 4 hours. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be less than that. But our first topic today is online shopping, and part of that's just due to the time of the year that it is. And Tim, we were talking a little bit about online shopping and people using their cards online, and I made the recommendation that we all have these card offers in the mail, and you get them from everybody and their dog. And so I recommend that you take somebody up on one of those card offers and go ahead and get the card in your hand. Just fill it out, do all the appropriate things to get the card mailed to you. Once you have the card issued to you, call the issuer, the bank or the company that it's with, and let them know I'm only going to use this card for online purchases. So if you ever see a point of sale purchase or a swipe or something at a pump or somewhere, shut the card down immediately, because I'm only going to use the card electronic. And most companies are more than happy to do that. I've never run into anyone that was told no on that, because what you're doing is narrowing the functions or uses or the risks that card will be used in.
Right.
And so they're happy to do it usually. But then that's a more secure method. And that way your regular card or a debit card, never recommend using debit cards online if you can avoid it. Primarily because they can tap you out if of your actual cash if it was compromised. So so that's a recommendation to have. The part B of that is if you've been going through the holidays or your birthday shopping and you've done some particularly risky, in the eyes of us security folks, behavior, call your card vendor or your card issuer and ask them for a new card. Say, hey, I'd like to have a new card, different number. Sometimes they'll charge you $10. Sometimes they'll just do it. But it's a way to get a new set of numbers, and the old set's retired. There's no way they can get at you. So those are two things that you can function. And I'll throw this out there just because personal experience and with some friends, the number one riskiest place you can swipe a card is those stupid little huts in the center of the mall. You know, the guys selling the gyrocopters and the battery-powered socks and
cell phone cases.
I guarantee you, if you take a card to any one of those booths, within 48 hours, your card will be compromised. I've seen it. I know people that's had it happen. 2 times now I've had someone say, my card got compromised. I said, well, where you been the last 48 hours? And every single one of them has bought a gyrocopter or a battery-powered pair of socks. So anyway, be careful at those places. Cash only at those if you can. So not profiling or anything, but I've just seen it happen, and it's kind of scary and very inconvenient.
And that's why I think prepaid cards can be particularly helpful on things like that. It's kind of like cash. I don't try and use them very long term. That a lot of them have a monthly maintenance cost, but it does help on something where, they take a card and you want to go ahead and risk if they get your gift card or prepaid card number. It's really not a big deal. Mostly, you probably don't have very much on them anyway.
That's a great idea. Besides cash, excellent idea. So along the theme of online shopping, everybody's probably out on Amazon, and I'm an Amazon fan myself, and I know Tim's bought some things, and so let's talk about fulfillers and Amazon members and shipping and what to watch for. There is some bait and switch going on some of these websites, specifically Amazon and even Walmart and a few others, with how they fulfill your orders. So Tim, you want to?
Sure. One of the things that you really want to watch for when you're actually looking at something on Amazon, and that's going to be, we found this book here and it's a great deal. We know someone in the family that wants to buy it, so we're going to go ahead and add it to the cart. Now, when we look at this, we can see that it is Prime and that there's free shipping and the whole 9 yards. But what I like to do, instead of just adding to cart, down here a little bit lower, it says more buying choices. And out to the side, you can see where it's 54 used and new, or you can just say to look at only the new ones. So if we go and look at those, these are all the people that Amazon could select to fulfill the order. In this case, the example's a little one-sided. Amazon, the seller right here, Amazon.com, is about half the price of the other books, but it's not always the case. Sometimes the cheaper one would be this seller or maybe a different seller. But it's important to note that these sellers are just that. They aren't Amazon. So as far as a fulfillment goes, they are shipping it and not Amazon. So you can run into some trouble if maybe they don't send you the book or it gets lost. Amazon will kind of help, but they do have a different shipping policy and a different return policy than what Amazon would have. So a lot of the time you're going to be stuck dealing with the actual fulfiller instead of Amazon. It's the same on eBay. It's kind of the same way. A lot of people probably had experience with that, where there was a problem with the order. They can open a case with eBay, and ultimately eBay will step in, but only after every avenue you've had with the seller has fallen through.
Right.
So it's just easier to avoid some headache. Maybe it costs a little bit more, but to just make sure that you're having Amazon fulfill the order.
One of the things I've noticed on Amazon, if you have Amazon fulfill the order, they apparently have regional warehouses with most of this stuff on the shelves. And if it's an Amazon fulfilled order, I've found if I go buy 6 things that are completely random, a water pump for a car motor and a Nike slide or something.
Right.
And, you wouldn't think those things would be related in any way, shape, or form. They come in the same box from Carrollton, Texas. So there must be a warehouse in Carrollton, Texas with water pumps at one end and Nike shoes in the other, because it all got thrown in the same box. And I've noticed if you use the Amazon fulfiller, that happens a lot. If you pick the other folks, you can wind up with 6 boxes on your porch because they came from 6 different directions on 6 different days. And so that's another reason, especially if you're Christmas shopping, you're working that list. You want it all in the same box, try to pick the Amazon fulfiller all the way through your list, and it might all come in the same box.
Well, even looking at the estimated arrival date just on this book alone. The Amazon fulfillment says the 18th, which is, as of this recording, 3 days from now.
Right. As a weekend in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other sellers, just looking at the list, the earliest that we could get it from one of them is December 26th. So it's just kind of one of those, fulfillment's going to be faster because of those warehouses. And it can that's why it just pays off to make sure if you're buying from Amazon, to make sure Amazon's the one fulfilling that order.
And I think you also had an example, because we don't want to pick on Amazon, but Walmart.
We did have an incident last year. A woman had purchased some Christmas presents and different things from Walmart and did not realize that she had clicked one of the sponsored ads and presumably had some kind of rabbit trail like we all have, looking for one thing, and different sites will recommend because you looked at and you're, oh, well, I wonder what that is. So in this case, I've got Walmart pulled up. It's the same book. It's surprisingly the same price. So I don't know, either Walmart's selling it or they're having Amazon fulfill it.
Right.
I don't know.
Interesting.
So as we scroll down here, there's this little Barbie walking dog, I don't know, this toy here, and it's a sponsored thing. So if we click on it, we'll see if it will load up. There we go. It's showing that we're still on Walmart. So that's all fine. We're still on Walmart. If we scroll down, maybe we need some details or we're trying to get some more information about it. Try and get all these ads to load here.
You would pick the advertisement with all the pictures and
Sure would. So as I scroll down here, we're seeing some inspired by history, but we're also seeing all of these. Oh, look, daily deals up to 90% off.
Hey, that's great.
It's iPads. Probably have someone in your
Walmart's
family that
having a
wants
sale.
one. So if we click on that, now it'll load up a page as I am waiting for the page to load, but it will take us away from Walmart. We'll no longer be at walmart.com. And the problem with that is because we're not buying from Walmart, and this one actually kind of proves that point, it is telling me that it is not a secure page.
Right.
And that reinforces what I was going to say is that we leave walmart.com. We're buying from some third-party seller. It's easy, if we're not paying attention, to not realize that we are. And this page here kind of reinforces the fact that maybe the person you're buying from or the site you're buying from is not safe. Or, and it's something like this, it's very possible there is, we'll just say, someone in between you and your connection to the website.
Right.
So information that's entered in could be intercepted, including payment information. And that's what happened to the woman last year.
Yeah.
Her payment information, her card details had been compromised and had a bunch of different charges show up. And it all came back to buying from this third-party advertised sponsored link at Walmart. And Walmart doesn't have any reason to check the validity of these sites.
Sure.
So it's just kind of, if you want to pay for it, then it'll let you put an ad there. So I've clicked on another page or another link just to kind of show how it works. It's not walmart.com, but I can still add stuff to a cart, can still buy things.
Right.
So it's just important, like always,
Definitely.
to pay attention to what you click on.
The bait and switch. That's what you just really have to be aware of where you're clicking and watch that address bar and make sure you're staying in session in browser. It doesn't pop you out to another tab. And
You want to look for the padlock icon, the
right. Green bar.
Green bar. It's all about what they paid for. You know, who was it verified by, VeriSign or User Trust, that sort of thing.
Right. Those are all things to pay particular attention to. Back on Amazon or any of these sites really, but we shared a story where the parents were going to the door of the home and the UPS man was delivering, I think it was 500-piece Lego kits and a trampoline, and the 5-year-old in the home had ordered. They asked him, did you do this? Yeah, I put it in the cart, and he just hit checkout. Is that a good idea, or how did he do that?
Well, a lot of sites, especially shopping sites, do let you save your details. It's a lot more convenient as far as I can just add it to the card, or even do one-click buy, so I don't have to worry about anything.
No
just
passwords, no anything.
Click the button, and it's on its way.
Yeah.
And while that is really convenient, you do have to decide, is it worth the risk?
Right.
If you have your computer remember everything, then everything is remembered by your computer. If someone sits down at your computer, like a 5-year-old, then they can buy things. If you accidentally install software that you probably shouldn't, then it can have access to all of the details that you type or you have stored.
Information and who knows what.
And Chrome or Internet Explorer, when you tell that to remember your password, it's being remembered locally as well as, in the case of Chrome, if you're logged in, then it conveniently syncs all of that information across your devices. So it's just one of those, you have to decide, is it worth the risk? And a lot of times I don't really feel like it is.
Right. Speaking of passwords, if I have one of your, well, not Tim and probably not me, but the average individual, if I have one of your passwords, I probably have access to more than one location.
And you probably use very similar services, Gmail,
right,
Amazon, eBay. Like you probably use
Instagram,
the same sites.
Facebook, hit the social media ones, and
sure,
you could pretty well own somebody if you know one or two passwords.
Exactly.
So in password management, obviously the point I'm getting to there is you need to have unique passwords wherever you go. And everybody says, well, I can't remember them. And so I write them on a piece of paper and stick them to my computer. Please don't do that. I don't know what camera I'm looking at here, but please don't do that. There's password apps out there now we can put on our phone, or there's password programs we can put on our computer to remember all of our various passwords. How do you feel about those?
I kind of feel the same way. It's remembering your password. And especially in the case of a password manager, I do have to remember one.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll open up that database. But once I've opened up the database, it's open. So we kind of come back around to, if I've got software on my computer or I'm going to a site that I shouldn't, then they can have access to that. If the database gets compromised, especially if it's one of those cloud-based services,
exactly,
there is no cloud, it's just another computer. So if that database gets compromised, now all of the details you've told it to save are also compromised. So again, it's convenient, but I just don't know that it's worth the risk. You know, instead of doing passwords, and they've trained us, different websites, they've all trained us really poorly as far as what makes a strong password.
Right.
You know, letters, numbers, symbols, all that is very hard to remember. But if I make a password as simple brown dog, and maybe even put a space in between each of those words,
mm-hmm.
and maybe I want to capitalize each word, the first letter of each word. Now it's an easy to remember password, but it's also very long, and a space counts as a special character.
Exactly.
So I try and tell people, make a passphrase, not a password. They're just easier to remember.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's we see a lot of issues with password management in the business we're in. People forgetting their passwords, or getting their passwords compromised, or you know, the uppers and the lower, they get confused, or they've got their caps lock on and things like that. But the passphrase does get around most of those issues.
Mm-hmm.
We see a simple brown dog, or they'll type a phrase that's somehow similar to the site they're going to, or to them.
Sure.
So those are all things that can be done to help in that situation of remembering a password. But please use unique passwords as often as you can, and do make them as difficult as you can and still remember them. And the password containers, the apps, and that save your passwords for you, probably not a good idea. If I'm a bad guy and I'm going to wake up this morning and go, well, am I going to hack Redbox, or should I hack this company over here that's a password app for millions of iPhone users? Well, I think one's a bigger treasure chest than the other, probably.
iCloud, they were able
There you
to
go.
break iCloud a couple of years ago.
Right.
And it became publicly available on how they did it, and credentials and storage was made available to just people could go and get it. So it just because it is a big name company doesn't mean that it's more secure. To me,
Right.
it means it's more of a target.
You mentioned this a minute ago. The cloud is someone else's computer.
Mm-hmm.
We joke about that in the business. It's very popular right now. Everyone's saying, "Well, move it to the cloud," or this application stores your photos in the cloud in case your phone is stolen. You'll get your photos back, or it stores your data in the cloud. And what is the cloud? The cloud is literally just someone else's computer somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And 9/10 of the time, you don't know whose computer nor where if it's in the cloud.
Right.
So if it's on your phone, obviously you know who to go choke if it's lost off your phone, right?
Right.
Or if it's on your computer at home, I would much rather see. I think you feel the same way on this. I'd much rather see someone back up their iPhone
Mm-hmm.
every Friday night than to choose the iCloud services.
It's cheaper, for one.
Right.
But you are in control. Maybe you didn't have a network connection when it was supposed to back up to iCloud.
Right.
If you lose your phone and you do need to restore, if you've got to get it from iCloud, now there's a lot of time in downloading all that, and the iCloud backup isn't complete.
Exactly.
If you encrypt an iTunes backup of your device, when you restore it, you do have to remember a password, but it restores everything, pictures, even your past history, text messages.
Yeah, your notes, everything comes across that way. So a better habit or practice would be to back up your iDevice to a PC or a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Choose the encrypt option when you're doing that, and do it as often as you can, once a month at least, or once every couple of months. It's whatever you can afford to lose if that phone were to quit,
Mm-hmm.
or you drop it in the river or whatever.
Right.
We all hear those wild phone stories out there. We were discussing this the other day, security. There's lots of these surveys this time of year on Facebook and social media.
They're made a game somehow, or chain
your
email.
first pet's name and your first girlfriend's name and your old high school mascot, and then it recapitulates back this story or something about you and these words that you entered. And it's a cute little story, and then I even see people share the story
Mm-hmm.
on their wall.
And try and get other people to play the game
And get
with
other
them.
people to play the game with them. These questions that are in these questionnaires, your first girlfriend's name, your first pet, your high school mascot,
Mm-hmm.
y'all recognize those? Those are what? Those are security questions to registering your credit card or your
Yeah, if I forgot my password.
online banking. If you log into a foreign computer to online banking, it says, "Do you want to register this computer?" And you say yes, and you have to answer what's your mother's maiden name or one of those questions. So someone out there is gleaning, and if you share it, millions of people are gleaning your security questions.
And it didn't have to have anything special done to get that.
Right.
And that's why more and more it isn't about hacking. It's about social engineering. Can I trick you into giving me the information I want?
Yeah. So it's awareness. I think that's one of the things we promote and push for online security is, you got to be aware of where you are, what you're doing. What are you typing in? Why are you typing that in?
Mm-hmm.
Where is that going? What you're typing in? Those are all things that we, try to get you to ask yourself before you do something online. Because online is where the majority of the fraud's happening now. It's not so much at the cash register or, I remember back in the day they used to say, get the carbons on your credit card. They'd run the machine across the credit card and always take your carbons because they could steal your card number, And so obviously that was a risk then, and it's a different kind of risk now.
Sure.
But, Do you have any other tips, tricks, habits?
That really, other than I would encourage, at least on some of your primary online accounts, changing the password periodically.
Definitely.
It is hard to have to remember, okay, I've changed it, but if you use your email and then on some other site you need to reset your password, or you need to try and get a new account on some other service, you do need access to your email. So you're typing in your email address a lot.
Right.
And it just doesn't hurt to periodically change that password. If you lose access to your email account, you're going to lose access to a lot more than just that email account.
That's true. That's a good point. What about email accounts? Is there one that's better than another? You know, you can get Gmail, Yahoo. If your ISP comes with one, usually. Is there a reason to have more than one?
I use more than one, simply because if it is kind of a shady site, then I can type in this email and I'm not signing my account up for junk. There's a couple other services. There's one called Opaque, which is designed specifically for temporary emails.
Mm-hmm.
You type it in, you get your account verification or whatever email, and then you actually delete the email address itself. So
That doesn't exist anymore.
It's done. So it's kind of a throwaway email account. As far as security goes, I would say they're probably all about the same, as long as it is one of the main providers. You know, I wouldn't sign up for totally free email.com's email address.
Right, exactly.
But I also wouldn't say that you need to go out and buy your own domain so you can host your own email at home.
Although there are
it can be done.
People like us that do that, but that is the ultimate in secure email.
Because again, an email service is just taking place on someone else's computer.
Exactly.
So if I own the computer, now I can control it all the way. But again, it's all about accepting the levels of risk.
Right. That's a good point. Risk is something we're always trying to avert or mitigate down. And these practices we've shared today are hopefully will help in that, especially with the online shopping and some of the things that we're all out there doing now. And so anyway, maybe another series come out. I don't know. We'll see where the public response is to this. But these are some good habits and some things that I know Tim and I do, and we definitely would recommend to others. So appreciate your time watching, and thank you, everyone.